Hello everyone and welcome to the Hell 4 class Compendium. Today's video is going to be focusing on the Archer subclass known as Scout. In order to make your Scout, simply go to Create New Hero, Archer, Scout. The Scout is very much like your classic Diablo 1 rogue, but with a bit of a twist. She has specific perks that can boost the damage of her elemental arrows, which end up being her primary attack mode. Many of her weapons will have innate qualities, such as cold arrow damage, pictured here, or acid arrow damage for example. There's a large array of possible elements that her bows can have on them. You'll also notice that the bows themselves boost a certain element, possibly fire element, holy element, and etc. The next topic will be traits that you could consider for the Scout. Strafe is an interesting pick, as it will upgrade your multi-shot with additional arrows and the ability to manually control, though you will attack a bit slower. This can be compensated for though by getting attack speed gear. While Strafe isn't ideal for using normal arrows, it is actually quite good when compounded with elemental arrow damage. The Scout also has very little need for accuracy, since elemental arrows don't need much accuracy in order to hit. You can shoot from across the screen and hit a lot of things. This is probably a good time to mention that typically, the further distance your arrows have to travel, the less accuracy that they have to hit whatever target might be in the way. This isn't much of a problem though on the Scout. So, keeping all of this in mind, thick-skinned is probably a decent trait to go for. It'll boost your melee damage and arrow damage resistance and give you a penalty to accuracy, but again, accuracy isn't really a huge stat for the Scout. Taking the Lithe build trait is also a possibility if you want some extra survivability, but you should know that it will make your inventory life a bit harder and that your inventory size will be halved. Doom Whirl is also an option I've seen veteran players recommend if you want to stack some more survivability on your Scout. You will get hit more often by ranged attacks as your auto hit to range will be increased, but you will take less damage from them. Next we'll consider perks and synergies for Scout. It's recommended to take most of the elemental arrow damage perks, aside from acid. This includes the fire one, extra crispy, fully charged, deep freeze, chaos born, as well as blessed arrows. While this will comprise a very large amount of your initial perk investments on the Scout, the best defense is typically a great offense with archers. I would also highly recommend getting awareness, and this goes for basically every class, in that being able to see trapped chests is definitely worthwhile. Finally, it's recommended to go into Golem Mastery, as this will give you a sturdy frontline tank that you can lob arrows into the battle for. Just be aware that until you get some perk points put into this mastery, the Golem is probably going to be pretty weak. Spell level doesn't have all that much of an effect on its health. As far as synergies go for the Scout, there are no obvious choices. There are no synergies that give to elemental arrow damage, for example, so the rest is kind of up to you. Ostentation is typically an obvious choice for most classes, and if you intend on taking the character a long way, I would recommend it. Outside of that, and this is really just off the top of my head, maybe something like Hardened Steel if you're trying to counter any traits that you took might be worth it, but honestly I think this is very open and up to you. I'd like to take a second now to talk about Strafe in particular. Strafe is a very interesting mechanic in that it will change the amount of arrows you shoot based on your click speed. If you do very fast single clicks one after another, you will fire a straight line of arrows. If you do spaced out clicks, you will fire a full strafe of 5 arrows, and if you do somewhat medium clicks, you'll shoot a strafe of 3 arrows. So it can take some getting used to, but honestly I find it very cool. It allows you to augment how you want to fire based on the context of whatever fight it is that you're in. If you have a large area to cover, you would do spaced clicks. If you're killing just a singular boss, you would do fast repeated clicks. Gearing for damage on the Scout is quite simple. You want to find the best elemental arrow damage bows you can have, and also have a large array of them that you can switch between when fighting monsters depending on their strengths and weaknesses as far as immunities go. Also, getting something with fast, faster, and fastest attack, for example, will definitely help a lot and improve your frames as far as attacking if you've taken Strafe. As far as body armor goes, you want to have your resistances covered, as that's your #1 defensive layer, and you can also get things that will increase your arrow damage, give you faster attack, faster hit recovery, and also of course getting a multi-shot piece, which is crucial. Stat allocation is quite simple. You want enough dexterity to equip gear, but strength is actually going to be your primary damage stat, so stack as much strength as you possibly can. Magic, you probably don't need to put much into, maybe just enough to have a little bit of a mana pool for teleporting, and vitality of course if you want a decent HP pool, and it will also boost all of your defensive layers. And speaking on defense layers, typically you want to go for resistances first, ADR second, and then a balance of stun threshold as much as you can, DFE, and finally finally, AC and MDR, kind of at the bottom of the tier list for defense layers. Next, I'd like to talk a little bit about her general gameplay style. Teleport is going to be an extremely useful skill to put distance between you and enemies if they do happen to get near you, and of course the previously mentioned Golem that will act as your frontline tank and distract enemies, giving you room to shoot them down. Since the Scout doesn't have knockback available to her really, like some other classes do, you're going to have to learn to finesse your fights in other ways, but it is definitely doable. The Scout seems fun overall to play, and I thank Gazoo for lending me this character for this video demo. Also, a final note is that you should not try to rely on crit. The Scout has no physical crit in TH4, so all of your damage is coming essentially from elemental arrows. By endgame, your physical arrow damage will be basically nothing. And so while it can take some finesse in learning how to play it, it definitely is a viable class that can make it to endgame. I hope you have fun scouting the depths of hell in Diablo 1 to Hell 4.